Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of our organization, I want to thank Vance Joseph for all of his hard work and effort these past 2 seasons as head coach of the Broncos. As I mentioned in my press statement earlier today, we really appreciated Vance's enthusiasm, hard work, and energy that he brought to this building each and every day. Over the last few weeks, I've had several discussions with John over the state of our team. We are both on the same page. The results have not been good enough, and changes are necessary. I'll let John speak specifically to this decision and where we are on the football side and where we need to go. John will lead our coaching search, and ultimately, John will make the hire. I support him fully, and I'm confident that he will bring us the right head coach moving forward for the Denver Broncos. As we start this process, I think it's important to take a hard look at ourselves across every area of the organization to get better in every way that we can. I've said this to John. I will make every resource available and support any changes that are needed to improve. There are high expectations here. You have them of us, the fans have them, the community, everybody in this building has them. That's a good thing. We embrace those expectations. But we also know there are no shortcuts. We have to roll up our sleeves, and we have to put in a lot of hard work. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John. I'll be back in a few to answer any questions you may have. John?
Well, obviously these are always the tough days in the NFL, and to have to let a coach go is always difficult, especially a guy like Vance Joseph, who I enjoyed working with. Ultimately, it was not good enough. We didn't win enough games, and I had a great talk with Vance this morning. But I will say this about Vance. Vance is a good man, and he worked his tail off, and unfortunately, we didn't get it done. And so, we didn't win enough football games, and ultimately that's what we have to do. I will say this, that when you go through these type things and we look at, everybody's going to be looking for responsibility, it's our job as individuals, and really my job of what I do and the way I look at this is the first guy I look at is the guy in the mirror, and that's me. And I'm just as responsible for this, if not more than anybody else, because it's my job to make sure that we win more football games. And so I take full responsibility for that. I will do the best I can, continue to do the best I can, knowing that we're going to try to win football games and we're going to try to compete for world championships. That's what I'm about. I hate to lose. I hate it more now than I ever have. And we're going to do everything we can to get us back on track and get us winning football games and getting back and competing for world championships. And that's what we got to do. But we got to take it one step at a time. This is the first step. And as I said, we're all going to look at ourselves in the mirror and figure out how we can all get better. And we'll go from there. As far as the coaching search, that's begun today. We're going to do the best we can to find the right guy to fit in here. We feel like we've got 3 or 4 very good candidates, and we'll begin that process today. So with that being said, I will open it up for questions.
Please raise your hand. We'll find you the mic.
Yeah, John, you just went through this 2 years ago, and the next coach will be 4 and 6 years. I guess the question is, are the issues deeper, much deeper than the coach?
Well, I think that the coach is responsible for a lot, but not for everything, as we said. So, as I said, I'm responsible too. We got to take a look at ourselves and see what we're doing on the personnel side, try to get better there. And so, we got to look at it all. The evaluation starts today. We're going to continue to try to get better. That's what we can do. But where we start to get better is by looking in the mirror, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm going to reflect on this year, reflect on the moves that I made last year and a couple years before that, see which ones were right, see which ones were wrong, and evaluate them. And that's the only way I can get better. And my goal is to continue to get better. So I will do that, and our staff's going to do that. And so we'll start with it there. You talk about, the head coaches. I think that, the first one was, mutual between John and I, decided to go a different direction. We hired Gary and won the Super Bowl the next year. So I would say that I thought that was, a decent decision there. Obviously, Gary had the health issues, and, then we haven't done well the last 2 years. And so that has to get better. So, it's not all on the head coach, but the head coach, again, is going to be a big part of it.
John, in talking to some of the players in the locker room, the veterans especially, they used the word evolve. This team needs to evolve, especially offensively. Do you feel like there needs to be maybe more of a seismic shift on that side of the ball, given where it's landed statistically the last couple of years?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, and especially if you look at where the rules are going, the rules are getting shifted to the offensive side too. And I think that we've relied on our defense for a long time. And I think that we're still going to rely on the defense, but we definitely have to get better on the offensive side. And that starts with some continuity. It's going to be very important for us to get some continuity on the offensive side. This will be our fourth system in 4 years, right? So that is something that we're really going to concentrate, is getting some continuity, and that's what comes with, the same system and finding the right guys. So, that's going to be a big part of it.
Hey, John, what are the top 2 or 3 attributes you'll be looking for in the new head coach?
Well, I want them to be great on one side of the ball, or great at what they do, whatever position that may be, whether it be a coordinator or whatever they've done. I look for greatness on that side. I think that, to me, I look for experience. I want the guys that understand the game, they understand X's and O's, but also have the ability to lead men, and that's a big part of it in today's world. So those are the number two things that I look for. And there's going to be a feel for it, because I think there's a lot of things that go in a head coach that's a head coach, that it's a feel thing. And we're going to try to find that guy with that it factor that can make those right decisions and also lead men. So we're confident that we can find that guy.
Hey, John, 8 openings so far today. Does that create a big sense of urgency to interview quickly and hire quickly?
Well, we'd like to get things going as fast as we can. So, yeah, there's always, when there's competition out there, there's always an urgency to get in and get there and be as quick as we can. So, but we also want to be very thorough in the search, too. So, we've been in the process of sending out slips to be able to get permission to talk different things, which is the first step. And then at that point in time, we're in the process of scheduling the interviews right now.
John, would Adam Gase be a potential candidate?
Not at this point in time. No, he wouldn't.
John, for those who ask, is this job as desirable as it was when you first started?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I don't think a whole lot's changed. I think that, if you look at what's going on in ownership, I will tell you this. I have full confidence that ownership situation is going to get straightened away. I really do. And so that's an easy sell for me for the next candidate, as a head coach. I still believe that we have great fans here. I think we have our football team has to get better. There's no question, but we got a lot of good parts on our football team. And so therefore we have to, we can sell that. We've got 9 picks coming up in the draft, and as Joe said, we've got the ownership and the resources and the support from the ownership group to be able to make the moves that hopefully we need to do to make us a better football team. So everything's there, and plus the fan base here and what Colorado's about, and it's a good place to live. So you look at our facility and the work that's been put in this facility over the last 5 years. It's a great opportunity for a head coach to come. And I think the right kind of guy wants to come into a situation like this, because he knows what the expectations are and what our expectations have been for a long period of time. And so therefore I think guys want that opportunity. They want to come into a spot to where they know it's about football and about winning games, and given that opportunity, the resources behind them that we can give them, I think it's a great job.
John, we've heard a couple players over the last day and a half use the word rebuild. Is that how you view this?
Well, we always talk about rebuild, right? But if I say we're rebuilding, that sounds like an excuse. That's why I don't like to use that word, because it sounds like an excuse. Our standards are still the same. We're still going to come in. We're going to go into this off season, and be the best we can this offseason and try to get better football players and try to get it to where next year we go into training camp and we're ready to compete for a playoff spot. Number one, it starts with our division. We got a tough division, but we can compete there. So, you can call it whatever you want. To me, a rebuild sounds like an excuse. I'm not going to make any excuses. We're going to bust our tail to try to get better and try to get back to work competitive and do it next year.
John, will you make any other moves with the assistants or any of the staff members before the next head coach is hired?
Well, they're still all under contract, so we're going to, I told them that I talked to each one of them today, and so we'll just see how things go, and we've got a lot of good football coaches on the staff, and so obviously want to give them, the next head coach, an opportunity to retain those coaches, and especially if they know some of the coaches on the staff. So, I feel good about them, the coaches that we have, so we'll see how that goes.
Hi, John. Will you use the services of a search firm in the search? And if so, why or why not?
No, we're not going to. I think that I think a search firm, we used one the first year, and that was helpful. But I think that we're at the point to where the people that we have identified, we like the potential of those guys, and so therefore, I really don't think that we need a search firm.
John, do you guys expect Gary Kubiak to be part of this organization in 2019?
Yeah, we do. We'll see. That may, we're still in that process. We're still got a lot of things to go over before that, but I think that could be where he is, could be on the offensive side. We'll see what that role may be, but Gary will be around.
So he might coach?
Maybe, yeah. And again, we're 2 hours removed from that, so it's everything is still very much up in the air as far as that, but it's a possibility. His name has been floating out there, so yeah, there's a possibility Gary will coach again.
When you say experience, do you want someone who's been a head coach in the league, or do you mean just their body of work?
Well, body of work is really kind of what we're looking for. And the thing is, I can sit there and say, this is what I want, but obviously we get out there and get in the interview process, and different guys are going to, give you feels different ways. And so, we'll do as much homework as we can before we get into the interview process, and then, try to find out which one's the best fit for us.
John, when you were determining, Vance's future, whether to keep him or fire him, did you take into account the fact that you traded Akib and traded Demarius, two of the top players, in this previous season?
Yeah. I think that, again, I go back and look at did we give Vance Joseph the best opportunity to win, right? And we did the best we possibly could. Was it the perfect situation? No. But I think that with what we tried to do, and Vance was on board with every decision that we made. It wasn't, it wasn't one where I was going off and saying, we're doing this. We had discussions and spent a lot of time together, and I worked with Vance, and so the decisions that were made were joint decisions, and so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, John, with the Mike Shanahan story that came out a little while ago, I was just wondering if you could clarify how things are with you and Joe. Are you working together with this? And do you think the little trust unrest with the lawsuit will be a hindrance in finding the coach you want?
Well, first of all, Joe and I are great. There's no issue between Joe and I at all. And so Joe has been tremendous as far as the support that he's given us on the football side. And so, I keep Joe involved in everything that we do and let him know and keep him updated on what's going on. And he gives me the reins to run the football side, and I appreciate that. So Joe and I have zero problems at all. As far as the second question was, with the trust, and like I said, I really believe that's going to get straightened away, and it's a great family, and in the long run, I think that they all understand what the Denver Broncos mean and what the Denver Broncos mean to this region, and their love for their father and how they want it to look. So that's why, I think, in the long run, and eventually, once we get through this period, that that'll be the least of our concerns.
Do you have the quarterback to go
know where you want to get back to a championship level. And secondly, Mike just mentioned Mike Shanahan. You obviously considered him a year ago. Will you consider him now?
Well, I'm going to go shake some trees out there for the quarterback. See if one falls out. But, Case is our quarterback right now. And, he's, we got to do a better job supporting him too. I mean, Case, did a nice job this year. Obviously, he'll tell you the same thing. He could have played better. But we're always looking for that guy. And so we will continue to work for him and go from there. As far as Mike being a candidate, not at this point in time. I've got a great deal of respect for Mike and a great relationship with Mike. And so we'll just see how things go.
Do you still see, because so many of the resources are devoted to the defensive side of the ball, do you still see Vaughn kind of as the face and the anchor going forward? Is he still kind of your guy, or are you going to look, would you think even more radically, as we've seen this last year with teams trading marquee players to, get basically the haul of draft picks?
Well, and I think that we're going to visit all that, and that's, I think, what we have to look at and look at all the possibilities and get an evaluation of that. I will say that, one thing that has to happen too is, we have to play better. Our great players have to play better too. And so, I mean, it's, again, when we're going around trying to assess blame, which, we don't, we're trying to find solutions, not assess blame. We're trying to evaluate what went on and then find solutions. But one of the solutions is we're going to need our guys. We're going to need our core guys to play better. And so, but situations, Vaughn, he had a good year this year. Can Vaughn play better? Yeah, I think Vaun can play better. And so, that's part of the new thing that comes in, with the next coach.
John, with how important a quarterback is and are in this league, and like you said, they're not growing on trees, how frustrating is it from your side to kind of be patient and have to sift through because a Peyton Manning doesn't come along, obviously, every day?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to find those guys. And so that's why, you look at it and do the best you can. And I looked at, with the decision to go with Case last year. I mean, he had a great year with Minnesota the year before. So there's a combination of everything, too. When it comes down to that quarterback position, it comes down to giving an officer the best opportunity to be successful. I think offensively we got decimated with injuries, especially late when we lost Emmanuel. That hurt. Hireman hurt. So those type things hurt you, but that can't be an excuse. We still have to figure out ways to get the job done. We're excited about the young guys that we do have in Cortland and Hamilton, and Tim Padgett's played well, but they're young guys and they're going to continue to get better and better. But we just have to continue to try to hunt and find the right combination on the offensive side with players as well as coaches.
Vance is a guy you had talked to multiple times. Are you sort of mad, frustrated you're doing this again just a couple of years? Well,
this is no fun going through this. I mean, it's like, it's not something I want to do, but then again, I understand what my job is. And my job is to give us the best chance, the Denver Broncos the best chance to win. And like I said, I think Vance worked his tail off. He made huge strides from the first year to the second year. As hard as we played this year, I still felt like the year before, 17 lingered. It lingered into 18, and so it was tough to break that after we went through in 17. And so those feelings among that kind of lingered, and I didn't think that we could break that. Because I think once you lose confidence or you lose players as far as what we're doing and those type of things, if you lose them at all, it's very difficult to get them back. And I don't think he lost them because they played hard, and they really did, and they stayed after it. It just wasn't playing hard, and it's great, but we still have to win those football games. And so, ultimately, that's why I thought that it was probably a change. We needed a different voice, and why we decided to make the change. And again, I hope that we can hire a guy that can be here for the next 10 years, 15 years. But it's a tough league, and this league's about parity. It's about creating that. When you're good at some point in time, it's going to catch up to you, and that's the great challenge. And again, we got to answer that bell.
If it was reasonable and available, would you be willing to trade a draft pick or two for a head coach?
I'll look at it. At this point in time, we're looking at everything. So I mean, like you said, we're 3 hours away from, or 4 hours out from, relieving our coach of those duties. And so the process that we go through and where we're going to go now would be, so everything's a possibility. I always listen to everything.
First, with another top 10 draft pick, how can that speed up where you want to go? And then second, the Hall of Fame vote coming up, Super Bowl weekend. What do you think about Pat Bowlen's chances of getting in this year?
Well, we're all hopeful Pat gets in. He's very deserving, and, we've talked about that, and, he's right on the doorstep. So we hope that, the final say comes on Super Bowl Sunday and Pat goes in, because it's obviously very deserving. And so, we're excited about the fact that he's got this far and feel great about where he is. So, and then going, as far as the picks, as I said last year, we picked 5, and I said, I want to pick here again, right? So, but, we're not at 5, but we're at 10. So, we've got to be good in the draft again. It's going to be important for us to continue to build this base. We had a good year last year, and we've got to have another good year this year. We've got 9 picks, and so we've got to make those count. But obviously the lower you are, it helps, but by no means is it a guarantee. And so that's where we got to do our homework and work and find the right guy and the right fit.
You mentioned that it's not fun going through these coaching searches. Where do you feel like you went wrong in the last one?
Well, I really don't want to get into that. I mean, I think that, like I said, Vance is, he worked his tail off, and, there's no sense going back and looking at it and giving you the reason why or why I think it didn't work. The bottom line is it didn't. And so I've got to look at that and evaluate the process and my mindset going through the last coaching search and try to identify things that I might not identified in the last search and use those to get better this time. And so, again, this is, it's more about thanking VJ for what he did and not identifying the problems, because those are behind us, So what we've got to do is, again, I go back to the same thing, is a lot of us have this, the issues identified. The hard part is finding the solutions, and that's what my job is. And that's what our job is as a staff, and that's what we're going to work our tail off to do.
John, with what's happened the last few years and the fact that it will probably be tough to replenish over the next year or two, it's going to be a tough slog. Do you find yourself lowering your own expectations at all?
No, I don't. I mean, like I said, I've had the same expectations since I started playing football, and I think that, our standard of what we expect here is the same, and I think that with the way the free agency set up and the draft picks that we have and where we are, that, people may disagree, but, we're not that far off. And, we're obviously when you win 6 games, it feels like you are, but, that's why I feel like if we can get some key players in certain situations and get the right staff and get that in place and get the energy going again, I think that, we can get that done. And so, Les, it's the way I'm built. And, it's at 58, the desire and the drive is there, is as great as it's ever been. Like I said, the older I get, the more I dislike losing. And I don't know what that is, where that comes from, but it just adds more fuel to that fire. So that's why it's a great challenge for me and the rest of our staff to get this thing straightened away.
Thank you very much, John.
All right, thank you.